Hello. This is the beginning of a general movement guide for Sonic. I plan to make videos for the other two hedgehogs soon, but for now, he's got the most to it. '06 is notoriously terrible at explaining game mechanics to you, visually and as far as text instruction is concerned. But if you're speedrunning this, movement is super important. It's kind of how you platform. You move from place to place. Strats may save you seconds that are kind of cool, and like there's a clip or something, or like some weird like property of a loop that flings you off into the distance. That's cool and all, but it's not moving. So we're gonna move. And to start, we're just gonna talk about base Sonic. Then go through each one of his upgrades, and then talk about Mach speed, snowboard. There's Mach speed, snowboard, princess levels, and Tails and Knuckles, because you do have to play both of them. So let's start with just basic generalist movement. The first instinct I see almost every newer runner make, and this is a common mistake. It's okay if you do this. You should run everywhere, which is logical, right? Like it makes sense. You hold the control stick in a direction, you go in that direction. That's cool. I'm going to put a number on this. This is accelerates. This is not instant. And at top speed, you are moving at 19 meters per second. This is taken from the game. This is you moving at 19. So, you go somewhere a little less crowded. So yes, your first instinct usually is to run, and that makes sense. But your top speed is capped at 19 meters per second. This is actually kind of slow. You don't really run anywhere. If you need like a very precise degree of control that none of your other movement options will give you. So what you do to start out the run and do most of it is you spin dash. Spin dashing is interesting. You hold nothing on the control stick, and you hold the X button for about 10 frames at a minimum, or 1/6 of a second, and you will go into ball form. Now you can hold this forever, as well as pivot in any direction, but regardless of how long you hold it, it's going to send you about 30 meters per second for 3 seconds. And then it will just automatically unroll you. So you notice I'm taking like brief measures to stop before I charge another spin dash. Because if I don't, when I release, I will get a slide. And that's a topic for later, because it is one of the upgrades. So, well, it is. So this is cool for 3 seconds. Another important fact about spin dash is if you bonk into a wall, you will automatically unroll. You won't like go into a reel back animation or anything. You'll just unroll. That's it. Now, if our top speed while running is 19, but our spin dash speed is 30, we can actually preserve pretty much any speed we want by doing one simple thing. We hold nothing on the control stick. So, this game only imposes the 19 meters per second cap if you are holding a direction. So, what you can do with spin dash is you can cancel it into a spin kick just by pressing X. Now I'm going to do this while pressing forward and while neutral stick. See how much I slowed down there, even though I'm holding full forward? Now watch what happens if I neutral stick. Go a lot farther. This is because you're staying at 30 the entire time through the spin kick because you are neutral sticking. It's not going to cap you at 19 like this. So, this leads to our next technique, spin dash chaining. Spin dash chains are useful because they are able to cover long stretches of flat ground, like in New City. So first, you want to spin dash, spin kick. While the spin kick is going on, don't talk, okay? You charge another spin dash, and you can buffer it. And then you let go of the X button to spin dash again. Now you are always neutral sticking during the spin kick. You can go anywhere you want. Just as long as you neutral stick during that spin kick, you'll be fine. You'll maintain a good speed. That is the fastest form of ground movement for basically any sort of flat ground that you can imagine without your upgrades. So, unlike most Sonic games, you can't jump directly out of a spin dash. Like, I'll show you. I am mashing the A button as hard as I possibly can, and it doesn't let me jump. But we have discovered how to spin dash jump. You spin kick, and you immediately cancel that into a jump. So this is useful for jumping out of a spin dash early. You need to, like, let's say you're headed for a wall that you need to jump over. Like that. You just spin. You spin kick. Cancel into a jump. Practice this. This is really important for most of the story. Because there are places you're not going to need this 3 seconds every time. You're not going to need... Oops. You gotta also be very aware of where you're... And you're not going to always be in the place where you can unroll like naturally and jump. That's pretty unlikely. Incredibly unlikely in video. You're not going to do that. So, another thing to know is no momentum can transfer like you can with a spin kick. You will always jump forward at the same speed. I think it's like 9 or 10 meters per second horizontally. Maybe less. But you will always jump like that. It is unfortunate. Which leads me to my next thing. You starting to think running is bad? Running is pretty bad. Sorry. Yeah. Game is free. Anyways, I'm kidding. Game is not free. That's why I'm making this. So... yeah, just running is bad. It's basically never useful. Which brings me to my next point. The homing attack. The homie attack. Don't attack your homies. This is a very short jump dash. But sometimes you can bounce off of NPCs with. You don't necessarily target them, but if you do, you kind of bounce off like you would an enemy. It's kind of neat. Anyways, what's actually useful about it is that while you're moving, you are actually slightly faster than your spin dash. Yeah, definitely. We'll get to princess movement after the gemless stuff. So, like, let's say you're on your way to mission 11. I'm gonna spin dash. a couple times. And then you're going to want to jump and homing attack. But this isn't where the trigger is. The trigger is like over here. So once you jump over, you would basically hit the trigger with another homing attack. And although you would lose all your speed, what ends up happening is you just hit the loading trigger before it's over. So it's a very useful way of covering short distances where your speed doesn't matter afterwards, like loading triggers and goal rings. Use also in places where you need to cut your jump's height. So if I do this over the gate on the way out, it's like, okay, yeah, it does the job. But if I homing attack, I can fall a bit faster, reach the ground sooner, so I can start spin dashing again. Also, if you noticed, as I did that homing attack, if you don't have the bounce bracelet, which I do, you can hold X the entire time you're airborne, and then you will basically instantly charge a spin dash once you hit the ground. You can just buffer those 10 frames. But the bounce bracelet kind of throws a wrench into that because it actually puts an action on the X button. So, but you can do that pretty much everywhere before Radical Training, which is basically the first half of the game. It's really significant. It also stops any kind of vertical momentum upwards or downwards that you may have. So you can say, I'm going to jump in this guy, just hold A, and go forward. So he landed about here. Now if I were to do a homing attack as late as possible, he landed about here. So, like, although it seems kind of obvious, it's used to make some fairly tight jumps a couple times in the run. Quite a few, actually. Because of this property of it just hovering you for a little bit. Gives you that extra oomph you need to make it to the other side of wherever you're going. On to the first upgrade, light dashing. I don't have any rings here, so I will go into Radical Train if I can. Actually, no, never mind. It's not there. Ooh, funny board mode. Actually, I'm not going to talk about light dash just yet. I'm going to talk about homing attacking with a target. Without a target, it's fairly straightforward. You do a tiny little jump dash, and there's not much else to it. But with a target, it becomes a question of how well you can manage the lock-on system. So, the way lock-ons work in this game. So, if I am... It's a box that gets bigger as you go farther out. Sonic is centered at the bottom center of this box, and it expands in whatever direction he's looking. So, since it's a box, it doesn't really wrap around Sonic. So, if I don't want to target something, if I do want to target something, I should look at it. And the farther you are away from something, the wider your vertical range is, but it's always above you. So, the way you dodge this fourth bird in the chain is, by the way, when you bounce off of something, you can hold A to get yourself extra height. This is important in a couple situations throughout the run, including this one. So since I am holding A, I am extending Sonic above that bird that's below me. and I can homing attack to the other side. This is useful in a speedrun context, so you can spin dash into that dash panel, which I will explain shortly. So that's really important too. Speed gap breaking. So again, these birds respawn. Don't mind me, I'm just retconning. Hey! Oh, Skyjump. Anyways, so that's how the lock-on works. That I skipped that first bird because it was directly to the side of me. If it was at any point in front of me, I wish too, Carb. It's so cool. But if it was in front of me at all, or not to the side of me enough, if it was in front of me, I would lock onto it instead. So look in the direction you want to aim, and don't look in the direction you want to not aim. Sonic cannot look behind him, so if something is behind you, you're not homing attacking it, period. Even if it's just like a unit or two, it's not happening. It can't happen. So now we're at this thing. This is a really good instance of what's called a speed cap break. I don't think we have a name for it. But in 06, you have two actual speed values behind the scenes. It's gonna get a little technical, but it'll make sense. You have a forward speed, which is like the 19 we discussed with running, or 30 with spin dashing. And you have an additional forward speed, but the two are added together and then capped. As long as you're holding a direction, that is. If you are not holding a direction, it will not do that extra calculation of capping it to 30 or 19 or whatever the case may be. So you spin dash, hold no direction, not necessarily all the time. That's how you keep a straight line, is that you hold no direction. You can turn however you want. Your ground speed will still remain at 30, which is kind of weird, but it's just how it works. When you spin dash into a piece of automation, you want to hold no direction, because it will send you not only just spin dash speed, but it will add that additional forward speed that the dash panel just gave me. And you go zooming into the fire. Yeah, that's basically how it works. So that's why, after spin dashing a while, you want to hit this dash panel in ball form, but you want a neutral stick. Because you go really fast. But when you need to take control, you will lose that extra speed if you start holding a direction at any time. I mean, homing attacking them, if possible, is better. Not always. What people do... Also, homing attacking is a great way to slow yourself down. And just travel a fixed distance and stop. Which is what I do here, usually. It's not necessarily faster because you still have a period of recoil. And this is why and I suggest learning the timing for soonest passable homing attack, because there is a window of lockout that you have where you just flipping. So if I'm mashing, it goes about that fast. There's some more enemies over here. So it's not always better because you do stop every time you homing attack. I would suggest timing it. It gets you more accurate results than mashing. And it also doesn't mess with your height because, again, holding A off of an enemy will get you that extra height. Yeah, no, that's how you do clench jump. Okay, so Glencore's start has another thing that actually this introduces our first upgrade, the light dash. Light dashing is useful whenever you can do it. So to do that, I restarted the stage and then I held A during that load screen. That's how I was able to get the jump before I hit the dash panel. That's called breakout, and you can do it either from the load screen before a stage or from the restart menu. What people typically do is we light dash into this trail of rings, because this trail of rings in particular, some are like this, some are not, is coded so that you can light dash along them and it won't break in the chain at all. So when I light dash, I go at 50 meters per second. That's almost like 1.5 times spin dash speed. So the reason we break out is so we can go backwards into the dash panel and save about a second. Just from homing attacking out and light dashing back in. That's the power of light dash because it makes you go really fast. And if you hold nothing, you will continue to go really fast because the dash panel gave you that additional speed in addition to the light dash speed, which is already fast. So it's double fast. The carp, I'm going to do an aside here. I'm probably going to cut this out of the video, but what I do for Flame Clench Jump is I homing attack. I'm not sure if you're a right stick user or like a left bumper, right bumper user, but even though I use right stick for basically most of the camera in the game, this is the one part I actually hold right bumper for, to turn the camera. So, full jump. You want to delay the homing attack as much as possible and go a bit to the left of what you think is visible. Ooh. Yeah. You do have the static style like camera trigger thingies on the bumpers. Or triggers if you're playing on PS3 and then the bumpers do, yeah. Yeah, I know, it's a lot easier. And I found that right bumper does the job quite well. This saves 10 seconds, I think. Versus like optimal. Hello, Last King. Welcome to the tutorial guide stream. So I'm going to highlight a homing attack thing again before I get into the next upgrade. Yeah, no. Glencore Glench Jump is a roadblock for a lot of reasons. Welcome to the tutorial stream, by the way. So this is an easier backup that I do than people seem to do in runs. People usually take the pathway all the way down in the birds, but this only loses a second and is really, 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 really consistent. You just homing attack over to the spring. Remember, it has to be above Sonic for it to work. And then you go on this change up here, and it will take you to the same spring that the birds would take you to. Pretty cool. Right, actually, we're almost there. Playing Sonic Cameo. Chaos Emerald number 4. Where is that 4th Chaos Emerald? Congrats on Mania. Not really a 2D guy, but I can appreciate Mania. Also, pro tip in Flamecore, when you get hit, walk a little before you spin dash. Then you can spin kick axle jump into this bird. Or the bird to my right if you're kind of nervous. So your next upgrade is very useful for combat, but not much else. Yeah, I know, it happens to a lot of people. So this next upgrade is very useful for combat, really not much else. And it's the anti-gravity. You basically perform a spin dash, but you just hold a direction at the end and you'll start sliding. It makes killing worms and other enemies pretty trivial. Way to go. So instead of like homing attacking something multiple times, you just want to slide into it. We do a little circle. And that's how people do that. Rolling the egg type movement. Exactly. So, gotta stay out of the way, dude. Meteors, lest I get on. Anti-grav faster here. It was discovered after the tutorial that anti-grav was faster there. Not for the first worm, but for the second one. You can cancel out of a slide at any point by pressing X. Again. And then you can do whatever you want. This is also fully invulnerable for the duration of the slide. You need not fear anything when you're sliding, except for the duration of your slide, which is I think also 3 seconds. You are just a hitbox. You are not a hurtbox. You just destroy all. Except for when you're not sliding. Then you don't destroy anything. So, that's sliding. The next thing is the bounce bracelet. I'm sad that this isn't the SA2 bounce bracelet, but oh well. So, this bounce bracelet, it basically slows you down to... It kills all of your horizontal speed, no matter what you're doing. You can do it any time that you're falling. Unfortunately, you don't need to bounce all too much, but what you need to know is that bouncing reaches its maximum height after 2 bounces. It does let you jump a little higher than a jump, but regardless of where you're falling from, it's about halfway, right before Radical Train. So, you do have it for some gemless movement, but not most of it. How did you ever silver strap? That's the next. That's like the video after next. Sorry. We're just covering movement with this guy. me exit Pine Core to illustrate more bounce bracelet stuff. Oh, the fight. The fight is very simple, but I'll show that off at probably at the end of stream because I just want to talk about moving and stuff. The bounce bracelet is kind of cool. It's a really good way to fall. It's also a really good way to gain height, but it's also a really good way to do damage. Oops, wrong. Bounce braceleting is very good because once you hit an enemy, you can immediately bounce bracelet. You can't immediately homing attack, but you can immediately bounce bracelet. And bouncing cell, PO6, they have those. I used the A-hold to get a little bit of height after that third robot to hit the fourth one. And delay just a little bit. So after I hit this robot, there's going to be 4 red robots. And I use Bounce Bracelet there to fall a bit faster. So I can hit the second robot a little sooner without having to compromise waiting to hit the first one. Also, pro tip, right now I am holding A and up left if you destroy the rightmost robot last. Because there's a Hornet that has a lot of lasers and a lot of Vulcan cannons, and it's very annoying, and it is prone to killing runners, even if you do homing attack the crap out of it. Once you see it spawn and come all the way down, then you keep holding up left at homing attack and immediately bounce bracelet. It might still do damage after it's dead, so then you homing attack again. Slide into these guys. Really good way to take out multi-health enemies. It is very annoying. And so you just shred with the bounce bracelet. Although that's not really movement, per se. Yeah. So, bounce bracelet has a couple limited applications. Die ILs. Yeah. This can happen. But it's a very useful way to fall instantly. No, not Shadow, not Silver. So used to just auto-menuing Silver, jeez. Okay. The last upgrade you get that has stuff to do with movement, not necessarily the tricks, is the Blue Gem. The Blue Gem is a powerful weapon, but it is very much a double-edged sword that takes a lot of skill to use optimally. It is accessible by hitting right or left on the D-pad. For the people who are like, where'd the gems go? They're on the D-pad. So, a principle of the Blue Gem is that it gives you a burst of speed, but it also locks you out of either changing direction or jumping or anything for a teeny bit. It's less than a second. But it gives you a lot of speed. And it's also classified as additional forward speed. Remember I said there's 2 values. There's your base run speed and then your additional run speed. This gives you a boost, much like a dash panel would. Actually, exactly like a dash panel would. So I'm gonna... I use spin dash here. My dash neutral stick, carry all that speed. And then here, you want to spin dash, neutral stick his boost pads to unroll. Then you want to neutral stick and then mash blue jump hoops as long as humanly possible before you have to take control and get into this cave. It should be noted that if you get homing attack somewhere, you should. And there happens to be just enough distance after that spring to where you can blue jump once before jumping into the green orb. Chill. Chill. So, another property of blue gem is that it's bonkable. This is why it is a double-edged sword. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm so fast. Then, boom, you just lost 2 seconds over actually continuing to run. This is the trade-off. Spin dash, you just unroll. Blue gem, you just fall on your butt. Another useful application of blue gem is right here. You can just blue gem off of ledges, and it's generally very fast. You have enough space to blue gem there once before jumping. So, the thing is about blue gem is you need to space these out and script these because it's very easy to run into walls and it's very easy to overextend before jumping. So you need to get a feel of when you can jump after a blue gem and kind of count how many blue gems top runners do in certain places and kind of decide for yourself whether or not you think a passage would be safe to blue gem with. Because I know there are a couple places where spin dashing is definitely safer, but slower, because you are dealing damage at all times during a spin dash. You're not doing any damage while you are blue gemming. So, even though spin dashing is slower, it is sometimes the safer option. So again, something that not a lot of people do here. You can spin dash neutral stick into that one. If I restart, you don't actually land on the dash painting. You can then walk backwards here. And I think that's kind of funny. And that saves a second. Pay no attention to the clip, that's later. Yeah, I know after I jump off that bridge, I have 2 blue gems worth of space before I need to jump into that green orb. You can also homing attack the green orb. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just more efficient to jump into the green orb so you're ready to homing attack the rail that's spawned out of it. Oh yeah, rails. These are mysterious forces of nature. How to rails correctly. Because the game doesn't explain this at all, even if you data mine the localization. Which it does explain a couple things, like pressing the left trigger to recenter the camera in whatever direction your character's looking. So you'll see that if I press the X button, you'll do this neat little trick animation. Sonic games never explains rail counting. Yeah, par for the course, ain't it? So you're seeing I'm going to press it about 3 times a second. Uh, in the ballpark there. And he'll keep doing this trick animation. And for every X press that you correctly time, not too fast, too slow is fine, but about 3 times per second is your maximum output. That's what happens if you go too fast. You lock out. You keep pressing the X button, but then you're like, wait, he's not doing the cool thing anymore. You need to wait a second, or 0.9 to be precise, in order to actually speed up again. That's backwards. So get used to this. It's not once per trick. It's about 3. About. A little under. So that's how rails work. You don't have to balance or anything. And a jump is always a jump. It's never a rail switch. So if you come from the adventure games or heroes, don't worry. The rails let you jump off them 100% of the time. Take that, SA2. So you covered blue gem. No, it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't. Some of the time it does, and it's glorious. But most of the time you have to finagle to make it work. You have to be precise about rail switching in order to switch rails. I know Shadow has like a dedicated rail switch. Thank you, Tubes, for the good luck. Thank you, Anti-Blinky, for the emotes. Oh, Tunes, what's up? Thank you for the raid. Rail switching actually works in Shadow. It's great. Yeah, it is. If I may ask, how was stream and what was stream? We're just going over the bare bones of Sonic story mechanics. We've went over spin dashing, homing attacking, rails, blue gem, really important. Please, blue gem. Please, blue gem, as much as you feel comfortable pushing it. The only 2 levels, and then there's 3 missions, the trials, that you'll have it is going to be Kingdom Valley Aquatic Base, and then the missions are missions 18 through 20, or the trial of intelligence, the trial of courage, the trial of love. And each of those you want a blue gem in places to make it really fast. So watch runners do stuff, especially ones with input display. I know Reverie has one. I know Aura has one. I know I have one. That will explain volumes as to what we're doing. Flood might have one on his PB. I don't know. I haven't checked. I know Nick doesn't, which is sad, but oh well. It is what it is. And nice. GG on the records, man. SMG2 is always a speed game that I've been tangent to, but like never really wanted to run. Mostly because I run so much already, including Sonic 06. Which I've been running for a long time now, 3 years-ish. No problem. So right now, in preparation for everyone doing a Sonic No Credits work bracket on February 10th through the 15th. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm gonna plug Sacer events because this is where the tournament will be held, as well as a lot of other Sonic Adventure era speedrun. That's what Sacer stand for. Related events, like later there's going to be a Sonic Heroes Team Sonic LTS tournament. Even later is going to be a Fast Tail story from Sonic Adventure DX tournament. There's a whole lot going on at Sacer, and I think soon is the Sonic Adventure Era Marathon, somewhere in between Heroes and Sadix. I know Seafood might be able to fact check me on that. Um, but yeah, it's a cool stream. Follow it if you like any of this stuff. Um, really cool stuff. Anyways, done with the Sacer show. Back to the movement. So we've covered pretty much every aspect at this point of Sonic, base Sonic there is. But there are a few weird things that you have to do. One of which is sometimes you are bound by the shackles of carrying a princess in your arms. This renders you unable to spin dash and do a lot of stuff, but there is a couple things that you can do. You can still light dash, you can still slide, provided you have the upgrade at this point. You can still homing attack, and it's about the same as the other one. Alrighty, thank you. So, the only additional thing that Princess Elise gives Sonic, jeez, is this nice little bubble. You can see that it actually uses the action gauge instead of being like an infinite resource like the others are. And it allows you to run on water, or in this case, retextured water, aka quicksand. General rule of thumb is you want to walk down hills and homing attack up hills. It is slightly faster to mash homing attack up an uphill surface as Princess Elise, Princess Sonic, than it is to actually just run up it. This is very important right here, because normally you would run out of shield. But by homing attacking up the slope a lot, you can make it to the other side. And that's really Princess Elise with Sonic. That can happen. Oops. Nobody saw that. Anyways. Thing number 2 that's kind of miscellaneous. Snowboarding. This happens twice. Once in Red Acropolis and once in Crisis City. The general gist of snowboarding is that you want to abuse the speed cat glitches the snowboard has in relation to jump triggers. What a jump trigger means you can hold the A button down to crouch, and when you release the A button, you will jump. As long as you're crouched first. That's a big if. So, if you are not inside a jump trigger, you're going to hit your Sonic grunt. But if you are, he's not going to say anything. Now, stay crouched at all times. The reason you do this is it's kind of like a spin dash, in that if you run into something, that doesn't damage you, you just stand up and you uncrouch, which means that you have to repress A in order to See, I'm still holding A, and since I didn't repress A, because I got uncrouched, I'm now standing. Which means if I hit a wall now, I'll flip over. Like that. And while flipping over, you have no control over your angle, and it's just a bad time, so. You want to stay crouched as much as possible. I'm not going to go over shutter speed and DSS speed, because it's not really movement, but useful tips as far as snowboarding goes. If you are too fast at any point, you can always hold down, and that will slow you down. Holding forward is very much recommended to go at the fastest possible speed. I'm not going to do the speed cap glitch here. I'm just going to try and turn. Now around this corner, I like to hold back left. The reason why is it slows me down considerably and makes me able to take that turn really tight. And as kind of a spin dashing, you want to stay grounded as much as you humanly can. Because you saw how slow I was there, falling from that upper portion to the lower portion. And then when as soon as I hit the snow, that's when you start to speed up again. Sometimes snowboard is a little wacky, but you have to kind of like there when I got hit by that snowball. I flipped into a place that didn't slope in the direction that I was going, but it sloped in the opposite direction, so I was able to go backwards but not forwards. There's a bunch of weird edge cases with the snowboard that I won't cover, especially if you are doing this with a speed cap glitch like shutter speed or DSS speed. They save a lot of time, but they are very unwieldy to control because the snowboard was not the most designed thing in the game, much less at blazing fast speeds compared to what's normally intended. You need to script those sections out if you do decide to do those speed cap glitches. But they do save a fair bit of time. I think shutter speed saves a little, somewhere in between 15 and 20 if you get it first try. And DSS speed definitely saves about 15, maybe 10 to 15. Both of them are risky, as in wide acropolis, you can clip through walls if you're going too fast and running at a wall. Or, in Crisis City, if you fail setting up the speed cap glitch, you skim off the ramp in a weird way, or just jump off and you die, because it's over a bottomless pit. So, take that as you will. That's Snowboard Sonic. The last kind of Sonic that I'm going to cover does not include Tails or Knuckles, is Mach Speed Sonic. Allow me a bit to get there. Hopefully, if you stuck around for the whole screen, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Also, do not homing attack the switch. The backup to missing that. Why what? I did say ask question. I'm curious. Also, fun fact. Gliding actually does make you, Why don't homing attack that switch? Oh, there's a fun reason why, actually. This isn't part of Mach Speed Sonic whatsoever, but there is a fun reason why you don't attack ball switches in general. You can. It will target. See if I can get it to happen. Sometimes you get lucky, but these things are bouncy. Why can't I make it happen on purpose? Does it even happen with that switch? Any knowers? I know it happens with the one in the second half of Playboard, but you do this weird thing that is now termed the garbage, where you consistently, yeah, don't. It's just safer that way. Radical Train is a great level for General's movement. There we go. Spin kicks are also a good way of dealing damage while preserving speed for one hit. Also, please ignore. So Mach speed, anyways, we're here. So the first thing about Mach speed is that you are moving. But there are 3 levels of speed. Speed 1, 2, and 3, aptly named. For their level of speed, the higher you start in speed 1. When you hold forward enough, you accelerate to speed 2. And the reason we can tell it's speed 2 is because Sonic's arms go from outstretched to behind his back. Like that. But if you light dash off of something, just like in regular Sonic, you not only travel along the trail of rings, but you also go really fast. And by neutral sticking, as is the case with most things, you can preserve that speed. Now also, jumping in Mach speed locks your angle. So be careful. Don't jump too much. Jump in very scripted ways. But if you can jump out of a light dash trail, you preserve whatever speed you had inside the light dash trail throughout the entire jump. So when I light dash off that edge and then jump, I'm preserving that. I don't even know how fast it is. Sometimes you can overshoot. Not only that, but these light dash trails are aligning me. So I can get to the right place. Take note of which light dash trails runners use, because it's pretty important as to whether you're going to bonk into something or not, or whether or not something is out of the way or not. Another thing, you don't have to jump, in order to keep speed 3. In this final light dash trail, I'm going to neutral stick for a long time into the wall, and that will preserve my speed 3, or speed 2 when I'm holding forward, for as long as possible before I have to turn. That will make the train rubber band away from you really fast. It's kind of comical. Also a quick note, only press X once to light dash. That way, like, you can press X multiple times. Oops. Like, you can mash it for some of them. But I know for couples in Wave Ocean, you can light dash multiple times on the same trail of rings, because they're probably spaced a little too far apart. So that will make you slow down, because you will like kind of go backwards and forwards a little bit, instead of just preserving that speed 3 throughout the entire trail. Oh, that's a new one. That was actually kind of funny. I've been running this game for 3 years and I've never done that. Oops. So that's Mach speed movement in a nutshell. Again, just look at what people do. That's the easiest way to, say, survive like Wave Ocean and Crisis City, which are the two harder Mach speed sections of the game, in my opinion. Radical Train has like a couple curveballs, but it's easier by a long shot than the other two, I think. At least when you're starting. And I think that's it. It's all the movement. Except for Tails and Knuckles. That's all for Sonic. You do a whole level as Tails, so I guess it's pretty important to know how to do this. But Tails has one special technique. Knuckles is not. And it's called a flight extension. Flight extensions are when you pass this invisible ceiling that Tails has set for him whenever he tries to fly. If I keep holding A, this ceiling is about as high as I'll go. However, also you want to be flying as much as possible. You know how slow the slow guy is. It's kind of sad. However, this ceiling exists only if you're holding down the A button. Right now, I am above that ceiling, using my momentum to kind of surpass it, and then I fly it later. You're gonna see people in this level, not do a lot of jumping if they can. Like off of this ledge, you would just kind of run off. Same thing with this ledge. So you spend as little time not flying as possible. And then there's a fairly important jump for both wave oceans coming up here. You can only make with a flight extend. And it's right here. This is where Tails starts in Sonic's Wave Ocean. And you need to make it over to the other side, to that island, kind of behind the left post. So what you do, you jump, wait a bit, count to about 3. I count to 3 in my head. But you kind of want to feel it out where the ceiling is, and when to stop holding A. Then after you fall for a bit, you hold A until you get tired. When you get tired, you stop holding A, and that way you can preserve what teeny bit of flight left you have instead of just falling to the ground like a rock. And you can make it. Look at that. That's crazy. And this height is relative to where you start flying. So, to make it up to this goal ring, I basically had to jump off this rock and wait a little bit in order to get all the way up. Whereas if I did the flight as soon as possible, okay, maybe I was wrong. But you do want to jump a little bit up over there. That's Tails. Which leaves only one more topic to cover, Knuckles. There are 2 times 1, sometimes, if you're crazy like that you play as Knuckles. Once in Flame Core and once in Aquatic Base. You only play Tails in Wave Ocean and then his Wave Ocean. Right Jing Clips broke. Ow. This is definitely aquatic base. So I'm just trying to get to the second half of the level where Knuckles is. Cool. Ow. Okay, Knuckles is close, I swear. Okay, Knuckles has quite a few moves, some of which are useless. But a new one that he got in 06 is the corkscrew. If you hold X down, he can corkscrew. This is a targeting move, meaning that if I were to have something targetable like a ring capsule in front of me, you go to the ring capsule. That's why runners you see that do Knuckles walk forward into this ring capsule, and then corkscrew, and then glide out of the corkscrew. This is leagues faster than running. But you run a little bit in order to get the required distance you need for the next corkscrew into the glide. So let's try and show that again, but fast. Up a little bit. Glide. Oh, past this room capsule. Glide. Make sure you're past that one. Make sure you're past this enemy too. And corkscrew into the switch. And that, to my knowledge, is all the movement knowledge you need for Sonic Story in Sonic 06. Hopefully, this helps anyone. I wonder if anyone has any questions about general movement. And that would be a cool time. Or if anyone has any questions about the run in general. Seafood, I can't read Japanese, I'm sorry. How do I generally move into a sub 55? Well, if you watch the video, you'd know how. Well, but it's true. You just move better.